Ben sat alone in his room at the New Haven Space Academy. Outside the window, stars twinkled over the city. Inside, his room looked like every other cadet's room, neat, clean, and full of study books and training gear. But there was one strange thing that made Ben's room different. A picture. It was a small photo, stuck to the wall near his bed. The picture showed a woman, an alien woman. She had glowing blue eyes, smooth silver hair, and skin that shimmered faintly in the light. Her expression was calm, serious, almost sad. She wore a strange, shiny robe that didn't look like anything humans wore. Ben didn't know where the picture came from. He had found it in an old book at a second-hand store in the city 3 years ago. Something about it had pulled him in. Since then, he had kept it near him. Sometimes when he was tired or stressed, he looked at the picture and it made him feel calm. He didn't know why. His roommate, Tim, laughed at him. "Still staring at your space girlfriend?" He joked one day. Ben smiled and didn't say anything. He had no answer to give. That week, a peace conference was taking place at the Academy. Important alien leaders had come from all over the galaxy. Ben and his fellow cadets were assigned to help with the event cleaning halls, guiding guests and staying out of trouble. On the third day of the conference, Ben was assigned to the East Hall. He stood near the entrance, holding a scanner to check guest passes. Most of the aliens he saw were tall, thin, and wore strange clothes. Some had long arms. Others had glowing skin or floating metal around them. But then he saw her. Ben's heart stopped. It was the woman from the picture. She walked past him. With quiet grace, surrounded by guards, her silver hair shimmered, just like in the photo. Her eyes, those glowing blue eyes, were sharp and clear. She didn't notice Ben. She just walked forward. Focused on the meeting ahead, Ben stood frozen, his scanner beeping at the next person, but he didn't move. He turned his head and watched her until she disappeared into the main hall. "That's impossible," he whispered. That night, Ben returned to his room in silence. He didn't speak to Tim. He didn't eat. He sat on his bed and stared at the picture. How could it be her? How could a photo he found in a dusty book 3 years ago show a living person, an alien he had never met until today? The eyes in the photo, they stared back. The next evening, something strange happened. Ben came back from training and found the door to his room open. That was odd, he always kept it locked. Cautiously, he stepped inside. The lights were off. The air felt different, heavy, quiet, like the calm before a storm. Then he saw her. She stood in the middle of the room, near his desk. Her back was turned. She was looking at the photo on the wall. Ben froze. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Slowly, the woman turned around. Her glowing eyes met his. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, in a soft but serious voice, she said, "Why is my picture in your room?" Ben felt his legs shake. I don't know, he said. "I found it years ago." Closer. Her silver robe flowed around her like smoke. She looked at the picture again, then at him. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. "No," Ben said. "I saw you today, at the conference. I didn't even know you were real before that." Shh. Studied him, as if trying to read his thoughts. This picture. "It should not exist," she said. "I don't understand," Ben said quietly. "It was in a book. I don't know where it came from." She walked around the room, slow and silent. She touched the edge of the photo, but did not remove it. "What is your name?" she asked. Ben Thorne? Cadet? Earthfleet?" She nodded slightly. "I am Tira. I am from Valari." Ben had heard of the Valari. A powerful and distant alien race. They were not enemies of Earth, but they rarely visited. Valari ships were quiet, their people even more so. "Is this a crime?" Ben asked. "To have this picture?" Tara didn't answer right away. She looked at him again, this time with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. "No," she said at last, "but it is strange. This photo was never meant to leave Valari. No human should have it. and no human should recognize me. I don't recognize you, Ben said, but I've seen your face every day for years. She looked at him quietly. Then she took a step forward, her eyes glowing brighter. There is something about you, she said slowly, something I can't explain. Ben didn't move. He didn't understand what was happening. He only knew that nothing would be the same after tonight. Come with me, Tira said. There are answers we both need. Before Ben could respond, she turned and walked out of the room, her robe whispering behind her like wind. Ben stood in silence. Then, without thinking, he followed her. The photo remained on the wall, watching them both disappear into the night. Ben followed Tira through the quiet halls of the academy. The lights above flickered softly as they passed. His boots clicked against the floor, but hers made no sound. She moved like a shadow, calm, smooth, silent. Ben's heart beat fast. He wasn't sure if he was in trouble or if he was part of something much bigger than he understood. They stepped outside into the cool night. A small ship waited for them on the landing pad. It was round, silver, and glowing faintly with blue lights. Tira walked up the ramp without a word. Ben paused. Should he go? Was it safe? She turned and looked back. Are you afraid? Ben shook. His head no, just confused. Then come, she said. He took a deep breath and followed, inside the ship. The walls were smooth and silver, like liquid metal. Strange symbols floated in the air. The ship was quiet, but alive, humming softly, like it was breathing. Tira touched a panel, and the door closed behind him. The ship lifted gently into the sky. Where are we going? Ben asked. To my ship in orbit, Tira replied. We need answers. I think they're not here on Earth. Ben sat in a soft, curved seat. The window beside him showed stars above and the city below shrinking as they rose. In just minutes, Earth became a glowing ball behind them. Tara's main ship was huge and shaped like a shining leaf. It floated above Earth in silent orbit. As they approached, small drones guided them in. The small ship docked, and the doors opened. Follow me, Tira said. Ben followed her through quiet halls filled with soft blue lights and moving walls. Strange alien sounds echoed gently around them, past tall Volare crew members. They glanced at him, but said nothing. Tira led him into a round room with floating orbs of light. A chair rose from the floor. Sit, she said. Ben obeyed. Chair was warm, like it knew he was there. Tira stood before him. Now, she said, tell me everything. From the beginning. Ben told her how he found the picture. How he was only 17 when he saw it in an old book at a second-hand shop. How he had felt something the first time he saw her face like a memory, even though he had never met her. I kept the picture, he said. I didn't know why. I just felt I had to. Tira nodded slowly. Her glowing eyes watched his every move. She did not look angry anymore. She looked curious, maybe even worried. She raised her hand and a floating screen appeared. On it, the same picture, appeared her picture. But it was different. The background was darker, the edges more torn. This picture was from my world, she said. Was lost long ago. It should not be here. Ben stared at it. It was the same, exactly the same. I didn't steal it, he said. I believe you, she replied. But that makes it stranger. She touched another panel. A soft hum filled the room. The chair under Ben glowed. This is a memory reader, Tira explained. It will show me your past. Only what you allow. May I see how you found the photo? Hesitated, then nodded. She pressed the side of the chair. A soft light wrapped around his head. Images began to appear in the air his memory. He saw the dusty bookshop again. Old wooden shelves, faded books. He was browsing when the photo fell. Out from between two pages, it landed face up. He remembered staring at it, cold feeling, then a strange warmth. He picked it up and turned it over. Nothing on the back. but somehow he knew he had to keep it. The image faded. The light disappeared. Therese stood silent. "That was not an accident," she said. "The photo found you." Ben frowned. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she sat across from him. "I don't believe in random events," Tira said. "Valari science tells us everything happens for a reason. Time is not straight. It bends. Sometimes the past reaches forward." Ben looked down. "So this photo came from the past." "Yes," Tira said. "And somehow it reached you." Ben thought for a moment. "But why me?" "That is what I must find out," she said. She stood. "Come, there's something else we must try." She led him deeper into the ship, to a dark room with a glowing circle on the floor. "This is the memory gate," she said. "It can connect to minds. We will share thoughts. Only memories that are strong enough will show." Ben looked nervous. "Is it dangerous?" "Yes," she said, "but not deadly, unless you hide fear." Ben stepped onto the circle. Tira stood opposite him. The light grew brighter. Slowly, the room faded away. Suddenly, they were not in the ship anymore. They stood in a battlefield, dark sky above, fire and smoke below. Strange machines flew overhead. Soldiers fought with glowing weapons. Ben stood in strange armor, older, stronger. Tira stood beside him, also in armor. She gasped. This is from my past." Ben didn't understand. "What is this?" "Don't remember this." "You do," Tara said softly. "Your soul remembers, even if your mind does not." Ben watched as the vision continued. In the memory, he pushed Tira away from danger. He was hit by something, bright light, and fell. Tara screamed. The memory ended. They were back in the dark room. Ben fell to his knees, breathing hard. Tira looked shocked. "That was real," she said. You died for me." In another time, Ben looked up then. "Am I here?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But I think we are connected. Across time, across space." Ben stood slowly. "What do we do now?" Tira looked at him with something new in her eyes. Respect, maybe even care. "Now," she said, "we find the truth." Sleep that night, not even for a minute. He lay in the small resting pod inside Tira's ship, his eyes open, staring at the curved silver ceiling. His heart was full of questions, and his mind kept returning to the memory they had seen together. In that strange memory, he was not a young cadet. He was a soldier, brave, strong, and he had died protecting Tira. But that couldn't be real, could it? Somehow it felt real. The next morning, Tira returned to his room. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed something newer. "You are awake early," she said. Ben sat up. "Did you sleep?" She shook her head. "Valari do not need sleep like humans." Ben stood. "So was that memory a dream? Trick of your machine?" "No," she said firmly. "The memory was real. I was there. I remember it now. You stood beside me in a great battle. You were called Dinar in that life, Dinar. Dinar." Ben repeated, double quotes, "Yes, you were not human in form, but your soul. It was the same." Ben's hands trembled slightly. "But how can I be Dinar now? That was long ago." Tira turned and began to walk. "Come with me. I will show you something." Tira led Ben through the ship once more. At this time they passed. Deeper into its center, the air grew cooler. The light softer. Finally, they arrived at a room filled with floating stones that glowed with blue fire. At the center of the room stood a tall, glass-like tower. "This is the mind archive," Tira said. "It holds memories from the past, real memories of real Valari. Only those with connected souls may see inside." She placed her hand on the tower. The glass shimmered and opened. "Place your hand beside mine," she said. Ben did, the moment. His skin touched the surface. Light exploded around them, in seconds. The room disappeared. Ben found himself standing on a green mountain under a purple sky. The wind was warm, and strange birds flew overhead. He looked down at his hands. They were not his usual hands. They were larger, stronger, covered in armor. He turned and saw Tira beside him. But she looked younger in this memory, and she wore warrior gear. "You came back," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Ben looked into her eyes. He felt it note Dinar's memories. His mind wasn't just watching, it was remembering. "I told you I would," Dinar said. They stood together, watching the horizon where smoke rose in the distance. The memory shifted again. Now they were in a war chamber. Tira and Dinar were standing over a map. Other warriors stood around them, planning the last battle. "You will lead the front," a tall Valari warrior said. "You're the only one they feared." Dinar nodded. Tara looked worried. "If you go, you may not come back." Dinar placed a hand on her shoulder. "If I don't, promise me something." "What?" Tira asked. "Keep one memory of me. Just one, so I won't disappear from time." The vision faded. Ben and Tira stood in the archive again, breathing fast. Ben whispered, "You kept your promise, that picture." It was the memory. Tira nodded slowly. "Yes, I had a single image of you saved. I locked it away. Somehow it crossed time and space, and found its way to you." Ben stepped back, overwhelmed. "So I was Dinar, in another life." "Not your body," she said, "but your soul. It was copied, preserved, maybe by fate, maybe by science. We don't yet understand." He sat down on the floor, holding his head. "Why now? Why me? Why bring me back?" "I don't know," Tira said softly. "But something wants us to remember, and we must find out why." Later that day, they went to the ship's deep library full of glowing scrolls and digital lights. Tira searched the system for old records of soul preservation, memory transfer, or anything related to past life echoes. Ben looked through old star maps and war records. He found Dinar's name in a forgotten battle, his last stand. It had been wiped from most records, but here, on Tira's ship, it still existed. "He was a hero," Tira said. Reading the words, Ben smiled sadly. "And now he's just me, confused cadet who can barely pass his math class." Tira looked at him. "No, you are more than that." Ben blushed slightly and looked away. As the day passed, Ben began to remember more. Small flashes, a smell of burning air, the sound of Tira's laughter, a soft song someone once sang in the dark. They were not his memories. They lived inside him. Tira noticed this. "The soul remembers slowly," she explained. "But if you stay near me, they may come faster." Ben wasn't sure how he felt about that. He was still just a student. He hadn't signed up to be a time-lost warrior soul from another world. And yet, deep inside, something in him felt right when he was with her. That evening, as the ship floated above Earth, Ben and Tara stood by the observation window. Below them, the planet glowed like a quiet dream. Ben asked, "Do you think there are others? Like me? Other souls brought forward?" Tara was quiet for a moment. "Maybe. Or maybe you were the only one who was remembered." Ben looked at her. "Why remember me? Why not someone greater?" Tira met his eyes. "Ash! Because you mattered. Not for your power, but for your heart." Ben looked down, silent. She stepped closer. Dinar was strong, brave, but more than anything, he was kind. "That part of you has never changed." Ben looked up at her, unsure what to say. Tira placed a hand on his shoulder. "We must find out who brought you back." "Why?" "For that, we must go beyond Earth, to the Valari archives on the moon." Ben nodded slowly. "Okay, let's find the truth." Ben sat quietly in the silver ship as it moved slowly toward the moon. Outside the window, stars sparkled against the deep black sky. The Earth looked far below, a blue and white marble. Glowing in the dark, Tara stood nearby, her silver hair glowing softly in the dim light. She watched Ben carefully. He seemed tired but focused. The questions in his eyes were heavy. "We are almost there," she said softly. "The Valari archives hold many secrets, but the truth about your soul, It is hidden in a place called the Dream Chamber. Ben looked up. Dream Chamber? What is that? Tira smiled a little. A place where minds can meet and share memories. Where secrets sleep, it is powerful, but dangerous. Few Volari have used it. Ben swallowed. I'm ready. The ship landed on the moon's surface in a quiet, blue-lit base. Outside, the sky was dark, and the stars were sharp and bright. They walked through long halls filled with soft, glowing panels. The walls seemed alive, humming gently. At last, Tira led Ben to a large door. Strange symbols glowed on it. This is the Dream Chamber, she said. Ben's hands trembled as she opened the door. Inside, the room was round and filled with soft blue light. A circle made of shining stones lay on the floor. In the center, we will sit, Tira explained. The circle will link our minds. We will share memories past and present. Like it is. The only way to find the full truth? Ben nodded, his heart pounding. They sat facing each other on the glowing stones. Tira reached out and took Ben's hands in hers. The light from the circle grew brighter, surrounding them in a soft blue glow. Ben closed his eyes. Suddenly he was no longer in the moon base. He was in a strange place, a field of tall silver grass under a pale sky. The air smelled sweet and fresh. Beside him, Tira stood wearing armor, her eyes shining. Where are we? Ben whispered. This is a memory, she said. A memory long hidden. In the memory, Ben was dressed as a warrior. His hands were strong, and his body moved with confidence. He did not feel now. Round them, other Volari soldiers prepared for battle. Tira spoke quietly. This was a war no one remembers now. Ben looked at her, then at the battle plans spread before them. They were planning to stop a great enemy who wanted to destroy their world. The memory moved faster. They were in the middle of a fight, bright flashes, loud sounds, and shouting. Ben saw himself fighting alongside Tira. He remembered the fear and the courage. The moment when he pushed her out of harm's way, then a bright blast hit him, fell to the ground, his body weak. Tira bent over him, crying out. Ben opened his eyes for a moment inside the memory and saw Tira's face close. Her eyes were full of sorrow and hope. Then the vision blurred and shifted. He saw a younger version of himself lying still on the ground, the fight ending around him. The pain was clear, but so was the love in Tira's eyes. The memory faded slowly. Ben's heart beat fast. When he opened his eyes, he saw the dream chamber again. Tira's voice was soft. That was your last moment as Dinar. Ben struggled to breathe. But I am here now. How? Tira shook her head. I do not know. But your soul did not leave this world. Something brought it forward through time and space. Ben sat quietly for a moment, thinking, why was I brought back? Tira looked away. That is the great question. Some say it is fate.
Nice.
Others believe it is a warning. Ben looked at her. A warning? Yes, there is a danger rising again. The past may return if we do not prepare. Ben's mind raced. He was just a cadet. How could he be part of something so important? Tira reached out and touched his arm. You are more than you think, Ben. Your soul remembers courage and strength. You will need them soon. The ship's alarm suddenly sounded. Red lights flashed. Tira stood quickly. We are not alone. Ben followed her out of the dream chamber. In the control room, alarms blared, and the screen showed fast-moving ships approaching. Enemy ships, Tira said. They want to stop us from finding the truth. Ben felt fear, but also something stronger, determination. We have to fight, he said. Tira nodded. Yes, together. The Volari ship moved into battle position above the moon. Ben joined the crew, ready to defend. The enemy ships fired bright beams. The Volari shields glowed as they absorbed the attack. Ben took a deep breath and prepared to pilot a small fighter. His hands moved with skill he did not expect. Tira flew beside him in another fighter. Together, they fought through the stars. Ben's training and Dinar's memories guided him. He dodged attacks and fired back. Tira's voice came through the radio. We can win this. Trust yourself. Ben felt a surge of strength. He pushed the enemy back and saved the ship. After the battle, the ship returned to the moon base. Ben sat beside Tara, tired but proud. "We survived," he said. Tara smiled. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. We must find who sent the enemy, and why." Ben looked at her. "I want to help. Want to find the truth." Tara nodded. "Then we will, together." At night, Ben returned to his small room on the ship. He looked at the picture of Tira he had kept all these years. Now, he understood it was more than a photo. It was a memory of a love and a life that crossed time. He smiled softly. "Why is your picture in my room?" He whispered to the stars. And for the first time he felt the answer was not just a mystery, but a promise. The Valari ship glided smoothly through the dark space, leaving the moon behind. Ben stood by the window, watching the stars move past. His mind was heavy with questions. What had they learned so far? And what more awaited them? Tira came to stand beside him. "We must visit the Valari archives," she said quietly. Ben turned to her. "The archives? What are they?" "They are a place of knowledge," she explained, "where we keep records of our history, our science, and our secrets." Ben nodded. "Maybe they can explain why I am here, why my soul came back." Tira looked at him with soft eyes. "Yes, I hope so." The ship entered the orbit of Velari Prime, the homeworld of Tira's people. It was a beautiful planet with tall silver trees and shining cities that looked like crystals. The ship landed in a large spaceport filled with other Valar ships. Tira led Ben through the halls of the great library. The walls were lined with glowing scrolls and floating books. The air smelled like fresh rain and old paper. "This is where the Valari keep our most guarded knowledge," Tara said, including the story of the experiment. Ben's eyebrows rose. "Experiment?" "Yes," she said. "Long ago, a secret. Group of Valari scientists tried to capture and preserve the souls of brave warriors. They hoped to bring them back if ever needed."
Ben's heart beat faster.
"That sounds like me." Tira nodded. "You were an echo of that experiment, a soul preserved in time." They walked deeper into the archives until they reached a large chamber. At the center was a glowing cylinder filled with swirling blue light. "This is the Soul Vault," Tira explained. "It holds echoes of many souls, kept safe for times of great need." Ben stared at the light. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. "Can you show me?" he asked. Tira touched the cylinder. The light grew brighter. Images appeared, faces, memories, battles, and lives long past. Ben saw warriors from distant worlds. Some looked like Tira, others very different. Among them, a faint figure appeared. It was Dinar in shining armor, fighting bravely. "Your soul is part of this vault," Tira said. "But there is more. Some parts are missing, lost in time." Ben felt a strange sadness. "Because time is not kind," Tira said. "Souls fade, memories break, and sometimes the past is erased." Ben clenched his fists. "I want to find the missing parts. I want to be whole." Tira smiled softly. "We will try." That night, Ben sat alone in a quiet room. He closed his eyes and tried to listen to the echoes inside him. He heard faint whispers, voices of warriors, songs of battles, and the soft laughter of Tira from the past. Suddenly a new voice, come a clear voice. "Gentle and strong," Bennett said. He opened his eyes. The room was empty. But the voice stayed in his mind. "Who was that?" he whispered. Taya entered quietly. "That was the call of your soul, reaching out." Ben looked at her, confused and amazed. The next day, Tira and Ben worked together to unlock more memories from the vault. They used machines that could read soul echoes and paint pictures in the air. They saw scenes of a great war, the fall of a Valari city, the last moments of Dinar's life. In one memory, Dinar held a small silver device, a key, glowed softly in his hand. Tira looked at Ben. "That device may hold the secret to your return." Ben's eyes shone with hope. "Then we have to find it." Their search led them to an old Valari temple, hidden in deep space. It was a place where time seemed to stand still. Inside, ancient stones told stories of souls and time travel. At the center, they found a small pedestal with a silver kitha, same key from the memory. Ben reached out and took it. As he held it, he felt warmth spread through his body. "This is the link," Tira said. It connects your soul to the past. Ben smiled, feeling stronger than ever, but their discovery did not go unnoticed. Back on Valari Prime, some leaders saw Ben as a threat, a human with power that could upset the balance. A council member called for Ben's removal, warning that the experiment was forbidden. Tira stood up for Ben. Speaking of courage and hope, the council was divided. Ben and Tira knew their journey was far from over, but together they felt ready to face whatever came next, because now they carried the strength of many lives and the hope of a new future. The air inside the Valari Council Hall was cold and silent. Blue light glowed from the high walls and quiet energy flowed through the silver floor. Powerful leaders sat around a wide circle, dressed in long robes. Their glowing eyes stared at the two standing in the center, Tira and Ben. Tira held her head high. Ben stood beside her, trying to stay calm. He felt all their eyes watching him, judging him not just as a human, but as something strange, something that didn't belong. A tall Valari leader named Malik stood and raised his voice. "This boy," he said, pointing at Ben, "is not just a visitor. His soul is from an old war, from a forbidden experiment. He should not exist." Ben stayed silent, but his heart was pounding. He knew this wasn't going to be easy. Tira stepped forward. "He exists because something greater brought him back. His memories prove it. His courage proves it. You cannot ignore this." Alex's voice grew louder. It was a mistake, a danger. The soul vault was closed for a reason. What happens? When old souls return with old wars still inside them? Out. Ben finally spoke. "I didn't ask for this," he said calmly, "but I'm here. I didn't come to hurt anyone. I came to find the truth." Some of the council members looked away. Others nodded slightly, unsure, but Malik was not moved. "Then the truth is this," he said coldly. "He must leave Valari's space. And you, Tara, are forbidden to speak with him again." Later, back on the ship, Tara sat in silence, then paced the floor, angry and confused. "I thought we found the truth," he said. "We found the key, the memories, the reason I was brought back. Why won't they listen?" Tira looked at him sadly, because they fear what they do not control. "To them, you are a mystery. Mysteries can become threats." Ben sat beside her. "Oh. So what do we do now?" She looked into his eyes. "We run." Ben blinked. "Run." "Yes," she said. "There is a place beyond the outer stars. A hidden temple where the truth about your return might be fully unlocked. But if we stay here, they will stop us. Maybe even erase your soul from the vault." Ben's voice was steady. "Then let's go. I trust you." Tara gave a small smile. "I trust you too." They left the planet under cover of night. Tara's ship flew through secret paths in deep space, far beyond Valari patrols. Ben sat in the co-pilot seat, feeling stronger now. The key from the temple still hung around his neck, glowing faintly. As they flew farther from the known systems, Ben's memories grew clearer. In his dreams, he saw flashes of his old life, Dinar fighting beside Tara, laughing with her, even holding her hand during quiet moments after battle. But now, those memories brought a question to his heart. "Did we love each other?" Ben asked. Softly one night, as they traveled through a dark nebula, Tira looked at him for a long time. Then she spoke. "Yes, we did." Ben looked down, and now. She reached out and gently touched his hand. "Now, I do not know what is allowed. But my heart remembers too." They reached the border zone, a quiet area between the known galaxy and the uncharted stars. The hidden temple lay ahead on a small silver planet with floating stones around it. It was called Selvra, the place of soul memory, but they were not alone. 3 Valari warships appeared suddenly from the dark. A voice came through the ship's system. It was General Soren, a loyal follower of Malik. "Return the human," Soren said. "You are breaking Valari law. You will be punished." Wara's eyes narrowed. "We're not going back." Soren's voice turned cold. "Then you will be erased." The enemy ships powered their weapons. Ben and Tira acted fast. Their ship turned sharply, dodging the first blast. Ben jumped into the pilot's seat. Tira activated the ship's energy shield. They flew through the floating rocks, using them as cover. One enemy ship crashed into a stone and exploded. The second followed close, firing beams of white light. Ben twisted the ship around and returned fire. The weapon systems lit up. A blast of energy hit the second ship's engine, sending it spinning away. But the third ship was faster. We can't outrun it, Tira said. We must reach the temple. Ben nodded. Then we fly through. The temple stood on the edge of a cliff, glowing like a beacon. Ben pushed the ship faster. The third warship chased close behind, firing at the last second. Tira activated. Cloak shield. Their ship vanished from sight. The warship lost track and flew past. Ben landed the ship near the temple. Smoke rose from the engines, but they were safe for now. They stepped outside onto the silver ground. The stars above looked closer here. Brighter, the temple doors opened for them as if waiting. Inside the temple, the walls pulsed with light. At the center stood a stone platform. Floating above it was a soul mirror, a rare object that showed not the body, but the true soul inside. Tira turned to Ben. This will show who you truly are. No more doubts, no more fear. Ben stepped forward and looked into the mirror. Gasped. In the mirror, he saw not just himself, but Dinar standing behind him. Same eyes, same soul. The warrior from the past, reborn in the present. Tira looked into the mirror too. A tear rolled down her cheek. You are him, she whispered. You came back. Ben turned to her, and you waited. She nodded. I forgot. My heart remembered. Suddenly the temple shook. The warship had returned and found. Then Tira grabbed the key from Ben's neck and placed it into a slot in the temple wall. A blast of energy spread through the temple, strong and peaceful. The warship outside stopped. Its systems shut down. Danger passed. The temple had protected them. Later, Ben and Tira stood outside, watching the stars again. What happens now? Ben asked. We go back, she said. Not to hide, but to speak the truth. Together, Ben smiled. No matter what they say. No matter what, she said, and gently took his hand. They stood quietly, two souls once torn by time now. Walking the same path again? The silver ship glided across the stars, heading back to Valari Prime. Inside, Ben stood near the viewing window, holding the glowing soul key in his hand. Every time it pulsed, he felt a deep warmth in his chest. His soul, once lost, was no longer alone. Beside him, Tara watched quietly. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held a storm of thoughts. Ben spoke softly. Do you think they'll accept us now? Tira didn't answer for a moment. Then she said, the truth is strong. Even those who fear it must face it in time. Nodded. I'm not afraid anymore, not of what I was or who I am now. She gave a small smile. That is why you were chosen. When the ship landed on Valari Prime, no one welcomed them. Instead, a group of guards stood waiting near the landing pad. Their faces were serious. Among them stood General Soren, arms crossed. You were warned, Soren said sharply. You broke the law. You entered the forbidden zone. Tira stepped forward. We found the soul mirror. We found the truth. Soren raised an eyebrow. Truth or not, the council decides your fate. Ben stepped beside her, then let them decide after hearing everything. Soren nodded slowly. Then come. Inside the Valari Council Hall, the leaders gathered once more. Blue lights circled the chamber as silence fell over the room. Tira held up the soul key and spoke with a clear voice. We did not come to fight, we came to complete a journey. This key holds proof of a soul returned not by force, but by destiny. Stepped forward, I am not just a human. I carry the soul of Dinar, a Valari warrior who once gave his life for your world, and now I have returned. The room buzzed with quiet voices. Some council members looked shocked. Others looked curious. Malik, the elder who had once demanded Ben's removal, rose from his seat. Even if what you say is true, it changes nothing. You are still not Valari. You're still a risk. Tira faced him directly. Then look into the mirror. They placed the soul mirror on a platform in the center of the room. Its blue light glowed brighter than ever. Ben stepped in front of it again. His reflection faded, and Dinar's image appeared, taller, armored, noble. Gasps echoed through the room. Malik's voice dropped. This cannot be faked. Is not, Tira said. This is soul truth. It cannot lie. A quiet voice rose from the back. It was Elder Nira, one of the oldest council members. I knew Dinar, she said. He once saved my son during the Sky War. I remember his spirit, and now I see it again. She looked at Ben and smiled gently. He has returned.
I too.
Fight but to heal. The mood in the room shifted. Malik remained silent. Tira turned to face everyone. We must not fear the past. We must learn from it. Ben's return is not an accident. It is a message. Ben stepped beside her. I don't. Want to take power? I don't want to change your laws. I just want to belong, and to use this second chance for something good. There was silence, then a quiet nod, then another. Finally, the council speaker stood and spoke clearly. Let it be known, the soul of Dinar has returned. Let him be welcomed, not as a threat, but as a bridge between past and future. That evening, a small gathering was held in the center of the Valari city. Lanterns floated in the sky. Gentle music played. For the first time, Ben was not seen as a stranger. He walked beside Tira through the glowing gardens, feeling peace inside him. Children ran past them, laughing. A Valari boy stopped and pointed at Ben. Are you really a warrior from the past? Ben smiled. Yes, but now I just want to live. In the present, the boy laughed and ran off again. Tira chuckled. You speak well now? I've had good teachers, Ben replied, glancing at her. They sat by a quiet pond. The silver water reflected the stars. Ben turned to her. What happens now? Tira looked into the sky. Now, we build something new, a path for souls like yours, and maybe even mine. Ben leaned back and sighed. It's strange. All this started because I found your picture, she smiled. Or maybe the picture found you. Days passed, and weeks. Ben began training with Valari knowledge masters. He studied history, soul science, and ancient warrior teachings. His memory continued to return, not just Dinar's strength, but his wisdom. Tira worked with the archives, helping others understand the soul vaults better. She spoke to the young about connection and purpose. Sometimes late at night, Ben would look at the old picture in his room, the one he had found years ago in that dusty bookstore. Now he knew what it meant. Now he knew why it called to him. One morning, as the sun rose over the crystal hills, Tira came to him with quiet excitement. There's news, she said. Ben stood. What kind of news? The vault is responding to you, she said. It's waking up. They rushed to the temple. They're deep in the heart of the vault. New memory had appeared, one neither of them had seen before. It showed Dinar and Tira long ago making a promise. If we are lost, Dinar said in the memory, let our souls find each other again. Tira in the memory replied, and let love remember, Daus, even if time forgets. The memory faded. Ben turned to the real Tira, standing beside him. She looked at him with soft eyes. It was never just a picture. He nodded. It was a call. They stood together, hand in hand, as the vault glowed warmly around them, and, far above them, in the stars, the past watched quietly and smiled.